Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The Texas Longhorns absolutely take it to the Oklahoma State Cowboys, 49-21 Big 12 champions. And Dill, we've been talking for the last month about the Texas Longhorns, kind of just pleading with this program to put a game of 4 quarters of dominant football together. And they've done that in back-to-back weeks now, taking care of Texas Tech and now in the Big 12 championship. Absolutely taking it to Oklahoma State. And you kind of watch that game and the difference in the skill and the talent and the players, just you kind of knew that was in Texas' favor. Want to get into some of our big takeaways. Texas making it a very difficult move for the College Football Playoff Committee to leave them out after the last couple weeks. Really excited to get into it. Before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. A shout out to the Texas fans. This is a program we've talked a lot about in terms of the ceiling and what they can do in terms of winning a national championship. The amount of support you guys have shown the boys, it really does mean a lot. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And more importantly, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section. Dill, going to give you the T-box here. Texas taking care of business, really looking like one of the best teams in college football. How we feeling?
I mean, that's the game Quinn Ewers needs to play. Aside from that pick he threw to Martin, that was pretty much a perfect game out of him. I mean, yeah, they did run some screens and some swings, which are obviously easy passes, and you just make them, and their playmakers are so skilled and make plays for them. But you kind of saw those big moments, those third downs, that throw to Adonai Mitchell across the middle of the field in one of those positions where they were backed up, like that type of throw. If he can do that consistently like he did today, this Texas team, I mean, they're really a hammer.
I mean, let's talk about this Texas offense. And this is exactly going to the box score real quick. Like, this is exactly what we wanted this Texas offense to look like all year. And our biggest complaint with Texas is you've seen the highest gear of the Texas Longhorns. You hadn't really seen it for all 4 quarters in most of these games. The last 2, I mean, you've seen it on full display, over 600 total yards of offense. This is how this offense should look, right? A.D. Mitchell going for over 100. J.T. Sanders going over for 100. Xavier Worthy was going to go over 100 if it weren't for the injury. Jordan Whittington obviously getting it done. I say it the Fab Five, right? A.D. Mitchell, J.T. Sanders, Worthy, Whittington. And I'm including my guy Tavondre Sweat, 2-yard touchdown pass as well. All jokes aside, I know that was a very good joke. You have so many playmakers, and to have all of them be involved in this offense and have Quinn Ewers look as sharp as he has looked. And then I got to point to Coach Sark. Absolutely in his bag. I don't think he called a single offensive play that did not work. When you couple all of that together, the amount of talent Texas has with Coach Sark and his ability to scheme up plays, this offense is just kind of has another gear that a lot of teams really can't kind of reach.
And the big thing is they're not really missing a beat in what they were supposed to do in terms of running the football. And I get today wasn't their most explosive day. You can obviously see Baxter and Blue didn't have like big numbers, but they're still able to put it down. Keelan Robinson looked really, really good. I kind of wonder if he's going to start getting in the mix a little more. But they're still able to do that. They're able to put the ball on the ground and move it pretty effectively for the most part and get those gash plays, especially Baxter. I think he, to me, is really coming along and being that guy. I mean, being able to take that every down kind of work. And then when Jaden Blue comes in, he can rip some big plays too. But CJ Baxter, I just can't say enough about
You're seeing CJ Baxter get more comfortable at the college level. You knew he had all the talent coming in as a 5-star running back. Maybe just getting a little bit used to the speed at the college football level, the physicality at the college football level. You're seeing him kind of fully adapt to that level. CJ Baxter really taking it up a notch and getting into Quinn Ewers and his performance. I looked at you halfway through that game and said, this is about as sharp as we've seen Quinn Ewers look in his career at Texas. And it wasn't just like on time and accurate with his throws, which he was, but he looked really comfortable within the offense. Like knowing when to push the ball downfield, knowing when to check it down, stepping up in the pocket, avoiding pressure. I mean, the offensive line did a phenomenal job protecting him, but in the ability to kind of manage a pocket and step up and deliver footballs accurately down the field, absolute dynamite out of Quinn Ewers. And another stat I was kind of thinking about, yards after the catch. I feel like a lot of people think yards after the catch is a wide receiver stat, and to an extent it is. And you have guys like Xavier Worthy, A.D. Mitchell, J.T. Sanders, who are phenomenal with the football in their hands. it's a lot about a quarterback too. Like being able to hit your wide receivers in stride and give them the ability to make something happen after the catch. Quinn Ewers, I mean, putting it right where it needs to be, letting his wide receivers go make plays after the catch. If Quinn Ewers plays like this in the college football playoffs, like there's not a team in the country that wants to see this Longhorns team here.
No, I mean, that offense, when he's playing that way, is just so explosive. It's so good. They're so loaded at the skill spots, and their offensive line is great. So when Ewers really plays well, they're just they can hum.
What hole is there in this Texas offense besides
when Ewers is great? There's no hole.
There's no hole, right? You're looking at one of the more talented wide receiver rooms in the country with guys like Worthy. I really hope he's healthy if they go to the college football playoffs. JT Sanders, AD Mitchell, who just always. AD Mitchell, going back to his time at Georgia, whenever the moment matters the most, that's when he kind of shows up. So you want to get AD Mitchell into the college football playoffs because that is where this dude thrives the most. But you look at it, wide receivers, some of the best in the country. I would argue that this offensive line, one of the best groups in the country as well. Quinn Ewers, the way he's playing, the running backs, and then you have the best play caller in the country, arguably, and Coach Sark calling the plays. This is the peak Texas offense. They could have very well had 800 total yards if they wanted to keep the foot out on the gas. They had to throttle it back. Really complete performance for the Longhorns on offense until you go to the defense. And this is kind of why, I mean, a lot of college football fans want to see Texas in the playoffs, maybe playing Georgia, is there are not many teams that can compete and kind of match Georgia on the line of scrimmage in the trenches. I'll tell you one thing, the Texas Longhorns are one of those teams.
Yeah, and just to be able to absolutely dominate Oklahoma State like that, you kind of knew there was a difference in terms of talent with that front seven versus that offensive line. But again, Ronald Ollie's been putting up some monster.
Ollie Gordon.
I got a last chance you
gets the boys every
time. Mind. But Ollie Gordon's been putting up some monster numbers, obviously. And against decent fronts like Oklahoma, I know like maybe not the most complete defense in the world, but a very good front. He obviously ran all over them. He's been doing his thing, and for Texas to hold him to really nothing, it's just very impressive and kind of what you wanted to see, because we've been talking. This front seven, it's as good as it gets in college football.
This front seven has NFL talent. It has NFL talent in the 2 deep, right? You talk about, we said this before, T'Vondre Sweat, I think, is arguably the best defender, the best player on defense in all of college football. The way he gets after the run game, the way he can rush the passer. Then you pair him up with guys like Barron Sorrell or Alfred Collins, Byron Murphy, that front seven. And then you have a guy like Jalen Ford and Anthony Hill, who, I mean, Harold Perkins kind of reminded you of him, but the level he's playing as a true freshman it's kind of wild. And you look at this Texas front seven, there is not a spot in that Texas front seven that is not NFL caliber. And you talked about it best. I mean, Ollie Gordon, a guy that has been averaging well over 100 yards per game, 13 carries for 34 yards. Oklahoma State as a team only ran for 31 total yards. And that's kind of how we capped it coming into this game is Ollie Gordon's awesome. And this is not me taking a shot at Ollie Gordon as a running back. This is more me giving a ton of credit to Texas and saying, I don't think Ollie Gordon's going to have a massive game against this Texas front seven. They're one of the best defenses against the run in the entire country. Can Alan Bowman win this game? And I thought he played all right, but that kind of speaks to what Texas does, not only with the pass rush, but within the back end. Guys like Malik Muhammad, true freshmen, stepping up in massive ways. I mean, there ain't many holes in this roster right now, the way they're playing.
I mean, really the only hope for the most part Oklahoma State had was throwing those balls up and seeing if Owens could make a play or get a pass interference. Because they're only really worked in the first half, and they had a couple drives where, they did get a PI and one obviously big catch, but that pretty much was their game plan. They just didn't have an answer for like normal offense. And that's me thinking Alan Bowman played pretty decent football. Like he was like get the ball out. He wasn't taking a ton of sacks. He was able to use his feet a little bit and extend plays. Like he played really well. It's just that they're so far overmatched by what Texas has and how just like what you kind of said. There's just not those weaknesses that you can just pick on. Like, they made a couple plays Oklahoma State in the first half, but there just was no consistent answer they had to like move the ball.
And we kind of said it. This game had a lot more to do with the Texas Longhorns than it did with Oklahoma State. Like I thought Oklahoma State played a pretty good college football game there. the way Texas is playing, the way they played against Texas Tech, the way they played the first half against Kansas State, the way they just played this afternoon, it doesn't really matter how these teams play. Like Texas Longhorns, if they bring their A game, they're going to be winning these football games. They'll want to have a little bit of a conversation, a little peek ahead to the college football playoffs. And the last 2 weeks of the Texas Longhorns, this is a group that if you're the college football playoff committee and if Florida State wins and they're undefeated in the conference champ, it's going to be really hard to keep them out of the college football playoffs. I think we all understand that. But can you just appreciate that this Texas team is making it extremely hard on the committee to somehow leave them out? Because the way they're playing right now, they look like one of the 4 best teams in the country.
It's going to be so hard, and it's going to cause an uproar, and we're probably all going to be pissed about it because at the end of the day, I think everyone wants to see Georgia play Texas. Like that is a much more intriguing game than Florida State with a backup quarterback going to play Georgia. So we all kind of, I think, are going to want Texas. I mean, if you think like who would be the favorite on a neutral site, I would think Texas would be 7+ probably would be my
against Florida. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to get up here and argue that like because I understand where Florida State's coming from, right?
The games have to matter on the field.
That being said, that Georgia game, if we were to just hypothetically talk about it for a second, there again, going back to what I said, there ain't many teams that can compete with Georgia in the trenches and maybe be arguably better than the Georgia Bulldogs in the trenches. Like I might be taking the Texas offensive line over the Georgia Bulldogs offensive line. And I think I'm for sure taking the Texas defensive line over the Georgia Bulldogs defensive line. And Georgia hasn't seen teams be able to match what they have on the line of scrimmage. And then you combine all that talent that they have on the outside on both the offense and defense. I mean, Coach Sark going up against Kirby Smart, 2 of the best defense and offensive-minded coaches in the country. I mean, as a pure college football fan, I would love to see that one.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to want. I mean, obviously Texas and probably most of America will be rooting for Louisville tonight because it's just you're right. It's simply a more intriguing game that I think we'd be way more interested in. But if Oklahoma, you're right. If Florida State wins, like if you look at it from their perspective, that's
100%. I think most people recognize that. I guess I'm just saying like just the appreciation of this Texas Longhorns team and how good they are and how good they've looked the last 2 weeks. Really, really exciting stuff. Again, Texas making it very difficult on the committee, but at the end of the day, leaving the Big 12 as Big 12 champs. Your Mark's pissed. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.